that. Yes. And let's start by invoking the Guru Parampara. Tadparamparhyaya vidmahe Jnanalingeshwaraya dhimahi Tanno Guruh Prachodayate Om Yoga Maharshi Dr. Swami Geetananda Giri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. We were looking at the niyamas the other day. The Pancha Niyama, Saucha, Santosha, Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishvara, Pranidhana. And Patanjali reminds us of this in his Sadhana Pada. And we are in the Sadhana Pada where he has given us this concept. And today I wanted to go in a bit of depth about each of these. And I thought the way we can do that is by looking at the siddhis that Patanjali says manifest when you become these niyamas. So we are talking of verse 40. Verse 40 is where we are. And when we are looking at this, I would like to remind you that Patanjali gives us one sutra for each of the yama niyama, where he tells us that when you, for example, let's go back a little bit to, it starts off with 36, where he says, Satya Pratishtayam Kriya Pala Ashrayatvam. The fruits of our actions come true when we are established in truthfulness. In the next sutra, he says, all treasures will come when we stabilize ourselves in non-stealingness, in asya. Great vigor is obtained once established in the creative principle, brahmacharya. Aparigraha, he says, when established in non-covetedness, we realize past life experiences. And so what he does is each of the yama, he has given us one sutra telling us what is sort of the siddhi, the manifest power that manifests when you are established firmly in that. When he uses the word Satya Pratishtayam, Pratishta is to be established in it, which means you are so established in non-violence, violence doesn't come anywhere near you. That is the type of state he is talking about. So for each of the yama, he has given one, so 5 for the yama, 5 for the niyamas. But the first of the niyamas, Saucha, he gives us 2 verses. Now, he could have put it all in one verse. And this is why when I look at the Yoga Sutras, and when I see a few of these things happen, what I realize is that it is more than just a verse. Patanjali is trying to convey a message on the importance of Saucha. Now, when we talk about Saucha, often people are thinking of it as cleanliness. And if you think about it as cleanliness, you will be locked in a box. So you need to get out of that box and you need to start perceiving Saucha as purity rather than cleanliness. So there is a slight change in perspective that has to happen. You have to expand your perspective. Saucha is not about just having a good shower every day, brushing your teeth, cleaning up after you have gone to the toilet. All that is nice. But that is only an external cleanliness. And it is good to do that, because if you don't do that, well, society would be quite a stinky place. It's already quite stinky. It would be even worse. So at least we have been taught in society, please be presentable. Huh? So, that level of saucha is also one part of it, to keep yourself clean, to keep your surroundings clean. Okay. But what is even more important is purity. The purity of thought, word, and deed. That is where we come into the Vishuddha Chakra or Vishuddhi, where the highest purity is being perceived here. Are your thoughts pure? Huh? That's where Swadhyaya comes in and says, no, Ananda, you have a lot of thoughts that you would not like others to know you have. Huh? And then you say, okay, fine. Let's work on that. Let us see how we can work on it. Not to say that, oh, I am so bad and I'll go to hell. But to say, okay, fine, how can I work on that? How can I refine my thinking process? How can I refine my emotions? This is where yoga is transformative. That is the change that yoga brings in our life. Not to just say that, oh, you're so bad, but to say that, fine, this is where we are. So let's clean up. Let's get things cleaned up. Let's do a spring cleaning. This is actually what it's all about. And that is where we start to take charge of our own life. We take responsibility for our own life. And people are scared of this. People are scared of responsibility. They want somebody else to do everything. The government should take care of everything. The doctors should make sure we are all healthy. See, expecting doctors to keep you healthy is going to be tough. Because there's no money in people being healthy. Okay, it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So the bottom line is, subconsciously, unconsciously, the modern healthcare system is based on disease. And I think the worst thing for the modern healthcare system is a healthy person, because they don't use the healthcare system. I remember someone telling me about the amount of money they pay in the USA for health insurance. And the person said, if we were to pay that money and we were never to use the, healthcare facilities, it would be a waste. So people say, I paid some money into insurance, so I better use it. And this is how the subconscious works. Okay, you are not sitting there consciously doing it, but the subconscious thinks like that. I think we have to be very careful here that we need to keep the priorities on health. This is why my focus these days has been so strongly salitogenesis. And again, I'm nagging people with that. Salitogenesis, 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 not pathogenesis, not pathogenesis, not pathogenesis. And it doesn't matter where I'm talking, to whom I'm talking, or about what I'm talking. I keep on bringing this into it. Because if we do not keep the focus on health, we are energizing disease when we focus on disease. Because what you focus on, you strengthen it. And our whole healthcare system has become disease focused. And I think we need to really, really take a big look. And it is a struggle, but though it is a struggle, we just have to start someplace. And which is the best place to start? In you. Change has to come from within. Now you have to be careful about the change comes from within part, because, a guy goes to a Buddhist bar, and after ordering his drink, he pays him and he says, I'm waiting for change. And the bartender says, change has to come from within. And, that's the problem. So you don't get your change then if you get into a karma bar. And as I think it was Sri Devi who showed us that karma, it's bottled water, is it? Something, it was in bottles. You buy karma in bottled water or something. I'm like, seriously, what a world we live in. Yeah, bottled water has a lot of karma. No doubt about that. Bottled water has a lot of karma. I do not deny that part. Okay, let's get back to something else. So salitogenesis is the focus, which is health. Health is a state of great purity. Because impurity is actually disease. Purity is health. So another way you can perceive Saucha is where you are your purest self. You are functioning at the highest level of purity, where every cell is totally, perfectly pure, rather than impure. Think about it that way. A healthy cell is the pure cell. An unhealthy cell is an impure cell. And you start to understand these things are not just metaphysical, they are physical also. One of the important concepts of yoga has always been Mala Shodhana. Shodhana means a gross cleaning. Shuddhi is a refined cleaning. There are two words that are used interchangeably in yoga circles. And normally this comes because of a practice, alternate nostril practice called Nadi Shuddhi, Nadi Shodhana. And so you find people saying, well, it's one and the same. Some traditions call it Nadi Shodhana, others call it Nadi Shuddhi. And then Swamiji has an entirely different practice. We have seen that in our 108 cycles. And Nadi Shodhan, leave Nadi out of it. That is the cleansing of the Nadis. But just use the word Shodhana, Shodhana. Shodhana means a gross cleaning. Shuddhi is a refined cleaning. So when you want to clean a room that has never been cleaned before, the first thing you need to do is a rough cleansing. You just splash water every place and you just clean it up. And after you have done all the gross cleaning, you take a nice cloth around and you wipe things clean. You don't start off wiping things clean when you have gross impurities. You need a gross cleansing process to clean gross impurities, and then refined fine-tuning. On your radio sets, another example of Saucha is a clean radio signal. In radio sets nowadays we don't have it, but they used to have these turnable knobs. Nowadays everything is, your mobile phone is everything, okay? The only thing it is not yet is you, and soon it will replace you. Okay, so if you have to be in a meeting, you send your mobile phone there, it's as good as you being there. That's what Zoom meetings are all about, okay? Your laptop is you, okay? So we have to be very careful with that. Mobile phone has become everything. But in the days when radio sets existed, and Swamiji loved to listen to the radio, BBC evening news was his favorite. And I think it must have been the 6 o'clock BBC evening news, which would have been about 9:30 or 10:30 in the ashram. And he would always listen to that before going to bed at night. So I always knew that he had a beautiful radio set. So when you tune it, there is the gross tuning. So first you have to sort of come close to that signal of that station. And then after that, what you need to do is you have to use the other knob. There's a smaller knob. It either will be separate to it or built into it that refines it so that you reduce the noise and you come into perfect sound. So there's the gross setting and then there is a fine setting. This is actually the process in cleansing. So similarly, Mala Shodhana means a gross cleansing. You have to give yourself a lavage and clean yourself out. That is what Shankha Prakshalana does. It just cleans everything out. That is a Shodhana. But then you also want Shuddhi, which is the refined, Mala Shuddhi. And that is why the Shuddhi Kriyas, Neti, Dauti, Basti, Trataka, Kapalbhati, Nauli, all of these are based on cleansing. You have to cleanse the gross body, you have to cleanse the energy channels, you have to cleanse everything so that purity can manifest. And that is why when we use the word Saucha, it is a state where music is there, the noise is not there. Noise is impurity, music is purity. You think about it that in your lifetime, whenever you are not you, it is the noise component of you which is running. And as you start to refine yourself, there's more of you and less of the noise. What is that noise? The Shatripus. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. That are driving the Vitarkas the deviants that pull you off the very yama niyama that you need to be yourself. So you can see how the subconscious, unconscious wiring is so strong, so primitive. It has been established for so long that the Shatrupus, which are noise-based, the non-you part, is trying to make sure you do not clean yourself. There's a story of a saint who used to go and have a bath in the Ganga every day. And this saint was well loved by most of the people, but as usual, he had his own set of haters. So when you have haters, do not feel bad about it. Even Dr. Ananda, yes, Dr. Ananda has his set of haters who don't like him. And yes, okay, nice. They are an important part of my life because they sort of energize me and make me do things so that, you know, I sort of grow beyond where I am. And I've had some amazing haters, okay? Some known, some unknown. And it's always a good combination. So don't worry about having people who hate you. And, you know, you don't have to worry about people hating you. It's their business, okay? What people think about you is their business, not your business. What you think about yourself is your business, okay? That's nobody else's business. What others think about you is none of us. And I am looking at each and every one of you there. Huh? You have gangster Yogi with his gun right there. Huh? What you think of yourself, what you do with yourself is your business. What others think is their business. And so just let them be. Let them be. That's where they choose to be. Bukash chooses to bark. Even today, Devasan and I went out. I had to get some dental work done. And I came back and we walk in the door and Bukash is like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah." And I'm like, seriously? Huh? You know, you bark at me. Okay, but that's Bukash's job. He can bark. Now, if I start barking at everybody who comes into the ashram, you're not going to have too many people come in, okay? They'll say, there's a guy who barks at you when he goes in. That's his business. So what happened is this saint, he had a share of haters, and there was one guy who really hated him. So this guy decided one day, he was not able to irritate the saint. He said, what can we do? And so what he did was, this saint used to go to the Ganga to have a bath. So the saint had his bath in the morning and came out of the steps. As he walked up the steps to the top of the steps, this man took some garbage and threw it at the saint. The saint didn't say anything, turned around, walked down the stairs, went back to the Ganga, had another bath, walked up again. As he came to the top, this man again threw junk at him. The saint turned around, and this kept on going 108 times. And at the end of it, the hater got so tired, he said, aren't you getting irritated with me? Aren't you going to get angry with me? Aren't you going to curse me? That's what he wanted to provoke in the saint. He wanted to provoke the vitarka. The subconscious, unconscious wants to provoke you into becoming something you are not. And the saint says, I actually have to thank you because every day I only have one bath in the morning in the Ganga. Today, thanks to you, I had 108 baths. So you have truly helped me purify myself for the sake of the divinity. So you are my guru, I bow down to you. Now imagine that. Imagine that attitude. I love that story. Now, I don't think I could do that. After about 3 or 4 times, I think I would punch the person in his nose. So despite all the lessons on Yama and Niyama, you really have to be a saint to do that. But that's one of the ways to deal with it, okay? I'll just go back a little bit because I just saw a few questions here. Nadi Shuddhi, Nadi Shodhan, there's no difference, Lalita, in the way it is practiced by most people. But in the Gita-Ananda tradition, and if you go back on my 108 days of the practice, I have given a couple of days on the Nadi Shuddhi, Nadi Shodhan, which is exclusively taught in a specialized way in the Gita-Ananda tradition. The first part is speeding up the breathing and then slowing down the breathing. So the speeding up the breathing part is the Shodhana part, and the slowing down the breathing is the Shuddhi part. So though most people, there's no difference. They do the same thing. They call it Nadi Shuddhi, they call it Nadi Shodhan, they call it Anulom Vilom. In the Gitananda tradition, there is a very big difference between the practices. And normally we do the Nadi Shodhan part, followed by the Nadi Shuddhi, so that you have the gross cleaning and the subtle cleaning, so that you have that state of Saucha for the Nadis. And then coming down, yes, there is the Nada Bhavana Shuddhi Kriya. In fact, there's a YouTube talk by me. It's quite good. Not because it's me. I never recommend things because it's me, but it's a good one on Navavida Shuddhi, 9 types of cleansing. And just type it in and it will come up there. If you don't find it, email me. All of you who email me know that you get something back. So don't worry. You definitely get an email back, and usually it's not blank. Japa as a technique to clean the internal noise, absolutely mugs. I really go with that a lot. Fine. Now going on to what I actually wanted to talk about. There's that share button. Share the screen. Yeah. And hopefully you should be able to see the screen. Can you see the screen here? Something's coming up on the screen. Okay, good. So this is the part we are trying to work in. I'm just setting it so that you can all see it. What did I do? Yeah. The first sutra that deals with the Saucha, and Patanjali has given us 2 sutras. Sauchat Swanga Jugupsa Paraira Samsargaha. That through purity, Saucha, we develop bodily indifference and a state of dispassion towards others. Now, what it actually implies here is internal and external purity of thought, word, and deed. And in this state of purity, we stop needing to have contact with others. You become self-reliant and you are no longer needing others. Most people in their life, they always need people. They need physical contact. They need people around them. Otherwise, they really go mad. And in this, what Patanjali is saying, as you gain in purity, you do not need this type of things around you. And I often used to talk about this story of Shankaragiri Swamigal. He was the Madhadipati of Kamble Swami Madam before Swamiji was there. He lived to be 95. And you know, for about 50 years, he had never taken a full bath. And you'll say, oh my God, dirty. Huh? But you know, as a kid, I remember him, and growing up, he was one of my mentors in many ways. He had a beautiful smell about him. There was no dirtiness. There was no impurity, because he had that highest level of purity that he did not need a physical bath to be clean. Now, he used to, after food, wash his hands and, wash his mouth, and definitely after going to the toilet, washed himself, but not a bath as we know it. And he had these huge deadlocks, and he had hair which was, I think, about 10 feet long. And Swamiji used to keep on bringing it out and showing people how long Shankaragiri Swamigal's hair was. And he used to tie it up in a round knot. Very great man. And what he would do is he would take the ash, the vibhuti that we use, this white ash, and he would smear it around his body. So in the morning, he would take the ash and smear it, and it was just amazing. And he had very few clothes, very few items of possession. And so his surroundings were always clean and neat. You went to Karaikal, to Melabanjur, to the Rangaya Madam, which is our sister concern there, a very beautiful place, Rangaya Madam, and a small room with one wooden bed and a few small things. He had truly gone beyond physical cleanliness and had gone into a state of non-possessiveness and austerity. And what I realized from him as a young boy, Saucha is not about the number of baths you take a day, but is rather about how truly clean you are in thought, word, and deed. And this is why I know people who, have makeup, say, put on the best perfume, and the clothes are ironed and so good. And they are the most filthy, thick-skulled, flat-nailed, featherless bipeds that I know. And there's no purity there. And there are a lot of those people around. And usually they are in the hierarchy of administration of institutions. So you have to really watch out for those people. Another thing I always remember when we talk about Saucha, because people think it is cleanliness. Foreign visitors to India, you always find people complaining about the dirt in India. And the same people who are complaining about how India is so dirty, they don't even keep their own bodies clean. Many of these people, when you talk to them, you're like, seriously, you are talking about dirty India, and I cannot even stand next to you because you smell so bad. It's actually astonishing, I tell you, the lack of awareness, and it's always about finding something outside. And again, we need to understand the concept of cleanliness is different from culture to culture. In India, outside the house or inside the house in villages, the cow dung is taken, it is liquefied in the water, and it is sprinkled on the floor, and the floor is cleaned with cow dung. It is an amazing antiseptic, and when you walk barefoot on cow dung smeared surfaces, you have good gut bacteria, the probiotics that you have to take as pills these days. And people take what they call fecal implants. You know what that is? You know what fecus is? Fecal implants. This is what people have to take care of the gut. You just walk on that, and people sprinkle it outside the house. Such a clean thing. And then we had people come to India and say, oh, you Indians are so dirty. You have, cow dung smeared every place, and cow dung coming out the rear end of the cow is so unclean. Seriously, I tell you, now the same thing, they will pack in a small pill, charge you a few dollars for it, and you have to buy it with a prescription. I tell you, seriously, the cultural aspects of cleanliness. I remember going to Switzerland with Devasena, and we went around there, and I was just telling her, this is so wonderful, just the space in Locarno, the town, the central area of the town where they have all these beautiful concerts in Locarno. It's the Italian part of Switzerland. Beautiful place, but they even have a banana tree. I could never have thought Switzerland, you would have a banana tree next to the lake. And there was sinners like, it's so unclean. I'm like, it's a clean place. She says, just look down. And the amount of cigarette butts lying everywhere. And I'll tell you, one of the commonest things I found in European cities is the amount of cigarette butts lying everywhere, and people are talking of cleanliness. I think it depends on what you're looking for, what you're thinking. And that is why we need to understand the concept of, what is dirt? For me, concrete is dirt. Concrete is dirt. We have put concrete all over Mother Earth. That is dirt. And, in trying to be clean, we have actually done the opposite. We have become unclean through concretizing our cities. We have just put concrete everywhere. Now water cannot go into the earth. So the earth doesn't have water. And then we say, oh, we don't have water. We need more, water bottling plants. As someone said, the water bottling companies who sell water, they don't produce water, they produce plastic. That's what they produce. Plastic bottles is what these companies produce, not water. They steal water from indigenous communities. In India, the biggest issue we have had is with Pepsi and Coca-Cola coming in, and the amount of groundwater they are stealing from local communities who then don't have water to drink. And then you say, oh, India. No, what has happened? And that is why India was never a culture suited for modern consumption of plastic and paper. That is why we don't have dustbins. Huh? Why don't we have dustbins? Somebody stole them and sold them for scrap. We are ingenious in this type of thing. Our villages and cities are not equipped to handle the horrendous waste that is there. What we used to do in India, we had leaves, banana leaves. You eat on the leaf. After you eat, that leaf goes to the cow. The cow eats the leaf. The cow is happy. No waste. Everything taken care. And then what happened is someone said, oh, you people are eating on leaves. You need to eat on plates. And you know, plastic plates are easier. Huh? Our ladies used to go around with beautiful brass and, you know, clay pots for water. Oh, you primitive people, here have plastic. And our people, oh, it's lighter. He, he. It's cheaper. He. Gone. Kill the culture. And this is how we have killed our culture. In this is all part of purity. Do not think that this is not part of purity. This is part of purity. Those brass utensils that were handed on from generation to generation to generation to generation. Now we come and lecture people about recycle, reuse. That's what was done by these communities until some stupid idiot came in and said, plastic solves your issue. Plastic is actually the dirtiest thing we have ever invented in human sort of consciousness. Concrete and plastic. Houses were biodegradable. Buildings were biodegradable. People were biodegradable. Nowadays, even the bacteria don't want to eat people because people have become plastic. When people die, even the bacteria don't want to eat them because people have become so dirty, plastic. So when we think about it, it's not just dirt. It's something much more than that. And that is why I think one thing I always used to think about is this double-sided Indian drum I play, the mridangam. It is made from skin of buffalo, goat, and cow. Yet, the most orthodox people who would never go close to a dead animal, they have been the best mridangist and players. They worship and do puja to it. Because what has happened? Their perspective is it is an instrument that enables the divine melody to be heard by human ears. Their perspective is changed by the artistic vision. They no longer see the skin of a dead animal. It is a change in perspective that is there. And this is not blind belief. This is not escapism. It is a higher and truer reality that rises above the limited so-called normal concept of purity and cleanliness. And cleanliness, like beauty, lies in the eyes of the beholder. The Avadut of India, wandering naked sadhus, they don't consider anything as unclean. For them, a clump of mud is equal to a pound of gold. Human excreta is not less pure than the consecrated water. You know, Swamiji would lift the children to bless them, and the child would pee on Swamiji. And all the parents and their grandparents are like, oh my God, Swamiji. And Swamiji said, no, he said, this is Amrita. This is sacred nectar that the baby is blessing me. That is the perspective. What a beautiful perspective that comes when you love everything, when you love everyone, and when you can see something from a much higher perspective rather than this is clean, this is unclean, this is dirty, this is not dirty. It's amazing, I tell you, when you think about these things from multiple dimensions. That is why Patanjali says, in the state of perfect purity, one becomes dispassionate about one's own body. You are not limited by body hang-ups. Purity means going beyond body hang-ups. My nose is too long, my nose is too short, I am too white, I am too black, I am green, I am blue, I am tall, I am short. All of these are impure body hang-ups. And Patanjali says you go beyond it. With regard to yourself and with regard to other people. You don't see them as, oh, look at that person. They are so white, so black, so green, so tall, so thin, so fat, so short. You don't see that. You see the pure self that is shining in the other person. You go beyond all these differentiations and distinctions and discriminations. Non-discrimination is purity. Discrimination is the worst SHIT that can be there in human existence. And I use that word with emphasis. When you start to define people by what they look like, you have come down to the lower state of, oh my God, it's not even animal, it's not even subhuman. Can't you see that beautiful shining self that is there in the other individual who's in you. That is Saucha. And that is what Patanjali says. You stop looking at the body. You stop looking at the external appearance. Physical limitations are overcome. And you become like the lotus that grows, rooted in the mud, reaching out to the sun. And though the origin was dirty, the root of the lotus is in that muck at the bottom of the pond. That lotus has shown us what Saucha is all about. This is not about just having a bath, please. Saucha is an attitude of purity where you can connect to people as that beautiful self that they are. Every living being is a beautiful self. Krishna tells us in the Bhagavad Gita, the Atma can not be burnt, it cannot be wetted, it cannot be dried. It is beyond all of these limitations. These are fickle-minded, subhuman, discriminatory limitations. When you rise above it, you are growing in Saucha. This is very, very important at this point in human history where we are dealing a lot with the issues of racism. One needs to understand that in Saucha, you transcend all of this. And the moment you manifest Saucha, it doesn't matter whether you are black or white, green or blue, tall or short. You are that beautiful, luminous Atma. That is Saucha. You are no longer limited by all these. I tell you seriously. I can tell you stories and stories on this that will go on and on. Patanjali, when he talks about Saucha, gives us another sutra. With all the other Yama Niyama, you had one sutra. For Saucha, he gives us two. And he says, through Saucha, Sattva Shuddhi, Saumanasya, Aikagraya, Indriya Jaya, Atma Darshana, Yogyatva. We attain Yogyata. Yogyata is fitness. We become worthy, we become fit to have darshan of the self. We become capable of witnessing the self, the Atma. As long as you're caught up, that person is white, I am black, you are yellow, short, religion, all these discriminatory aspects that come into the soul is neither female nor male also. Even that doesn't exist there. The soul is beyond all of that. That is why when I talk about God, I like to tell people he, she, it. It doesn't matter. Go beyond everything. So here we are talking about that capacity. He says the purification at all levels educes a sattvika, sattva shuddhi, that sattva, creating a pleasant and cheerful mental attitude. You have saumanasya. You have a pleasant and cheerful mental attitude. The opposite is dhaurmanasya, which was a state of depression. That is one of the vikshepa sahabhuvaha. Along with those 9 obstacles, you have the 4 symptoms. Dukkha dhaurmanasya angame jayatva shwasa prashwasa. The companions of the obstacles. Dukkha dhaurmanasya, depression. Saumanasya is the opposite of it. It's the other end of the spectrum. Sukha is the opposite of dukkha, if you think about it that way. He says the mind becomes fit for one-pointed concentration. Ekagra. You develop a sense, you go beyond the senses. Indriya Jaya. It is the senses that tell you that person is tall, short, fat, thin, black, white. It is your eyes that tell you that. It is your nose that says that person smells different than this person. It is your taste buds that say this is tasting different than that. It is your sensory apparatus that is playing the role in differentiation. What has happened? You have gone beyond the differentiation. And at that point, Indriya Jaya. This is part of the Pratyahara process. That is why Saucha as a niyama is part of the Pratyahara process. They are not exclusive. They are all happening at the same time. And then we have that yogyata to witness ourselves. We become fit for the reverential witnessing. Darshana is a reverential witnessing of the Atma itself. But this vision can only come when the vehicle is fit and all the impurities are burned away. Saucha as a niyama transcends all these limitations that make us differentiate people. You know, when I think about it, to become a good, clean-minded, good-hearted, good-natured person, good-heartedness cannot exist in a corrupted mind. And as you become more and more pure, your sensory attachments weaken. And it is at that point you become an Adhikarin, worthy of the presence of the divine Atma itself. It is a sacred vision. And this is why Patanjali does use the word Atma. There are yoga experts, very eminent yoga experts who I respect a lot also, who run around saying Patanjali doesn't talk about Atma. And I'm like, I don't know which version of the sutras you people are reading. Very clearly he talks about the Atma. Atma Darshana is clearly talking about the Atma. There are at least 5 sutras that directly mention the Atma in the Yoga Darshana. And yet they say he doesn't talk about the Atma. And like, anyway, some of these people, they're just, I have great respect for them. And because of that, I sort of keep quiet. I am too young, I am too immature, and what they know is so vast compared to me that I don't want to, you know, argue. But I really wonder how they have that perspective. It's a crazy perspective, in fact. But anyway, that's their job. What is our Swadharma? To become an Adhikarin. That is what the Adhikara Yoga is all about. A person fit for the cosmic experience. This is why it is so important that we have to work on it. Such a beautiful, when I even chant this, Sattva Shuddhi Saumanasya Aikagraya Indriya Jayam Atma Darshanam Yogyat Varnicha. Such a beautiful concept. Yogyat Varnicha. You become that yogyata, you attain that ability, that fitness. Beautiful concept of Saucha that Patanjali tells us about. I tell you seriously, and yes, Gurulin, you know, this whole thing about the commercialization is based on this type of differentiation. And all the suntan lotions sold in Europe so that white people can look browner, and all the fair and lovely creams sold in India to make Indians look whiter. I tell you seriously, these are based on such horrendous racist marketing tendencies. And yet our superstars of film done earn millions endorsing such products. You know, it is very, very tough. And yes, Tony, when you see the highest in people and they direct the darkness at you, it hurts even more. Yes, but they are just being themselves. The snake will bite. You cannot blame the snake, but just keep a gap between you and the snake. And if possible, get around to the tail end. If you catch the snake by the tail, it cannot do anything to you. Okay? So sometimes the lesson is to, you know, keep your space and move around, circle them a bit and confuse them. The best way to confuse the enemies is to thank them. They have no idea why you're thanking them. And it's just lovely to see that expression on them when you say thank you. Good, clean dirt. I love that from Heather. In fact, you know, my research mentor, Madan Mohan sir, he gave a beautiful definition of the word dirt. He said, dirt is matter in the wrong place. And I tell you, this is the most amazing definition of dirt. He said, it is matter in the wrong place. He said, mud in the garden is not dirt, but that same mud on your floor in your living room is dirt. The contents of your stomach are not dirt, but if you throw up and put them on your chair, it becomes dirty. And it's very interesting, actually, when you look at that angle. He opened my mind to this concept that when everything is in its own place, it is not dirty. And that's another interesting way to look at it. What we do is we take things out of context and they become dirty. We take things out of place, out of where they need to be. And that is where actually it starts to become dirty. I think it's actually a very, very beautiful way to think about it. Cow dung smearing culture diminished. Yes, luckily, Chinnamudlayachavadi, the village in which the ashram exists, we still have cows and we still have people who put some cow dung outside the door in the morning. And so, it still exists. But most of those people are also being told by the government, we'll give you money to build a concrete house and stop doing all of this stuff. So another 10 years, you won't find that in India. So Lowry's statement, suffocating Mother Earth. Yeah, our concrete, often I've thought about that. The concrete we are putting on Mother Earth is actually suffocating her. And maybe that's why the earthquakes are happening more and more often nowadays, that Mother Earth says, I better take care of you or do something. We are not learning from the spankings, I tell you seriously. Mother Earth is giving us some good spanks. COVID-19 is one of those spanks. Again, yes, the song plays so true. A weed is, yeah, Muggs also said that. It's so beautiful. And yes, Paula, I'm happy that Canada, some cities are trying to replace concrete because of flooding. Why is there more and more flooding? Water doesn't have a place to go. As a kid in Pondicherry, I grew up knowing of at least a dozen water bodies around Pondicherry. Today, I think there are 2. Just in my growing up, at least 10 water bodies, huge water bodies, were filled up to build houses and other things. And I often wonder about it because in Chennai and Madras, we had a big flood a couple of years back. And everybody is like, oh, it's flooding. It was not flooding. The lakes were just filling. But what we have done is we have built into the lakes. So the lakes were filling, which is a good sign. But because we have all built on the lake, in the lake, we said, oh, the city is getting flooded. And I think we really need, and I really don't know. I really don't know about this. I am a very hopeful person. But what I see is we want the shortcut. We want that which is cheapest and not that which is right. Again, Yama telling Nachiketa that Shreya Marga, the Freya Marga, the noble path and the easy path, we are always looking at the easy path. The easy one is sort of the crowded one. Anyway, don't worry about that. If everybody is going down that path, let them go. You walk your own path. Sometimes it's tough. And see what you can do to your best ability. Saucha. Second one, Santosha. Santosha is, again, we have talked a bit about that in our last session. When we talked about the concept of contentment, we talked about the concept of the hypothalamus and the feeling of satiety. A feeling of satiety where what happens is then you can be the best you. Because when that contentment is there, you are at ease with yourself. Patanjali tells us, Santoshat anuttama sukhalabhaha. That sukha, which is ease, that ease becomes your second nature. Santoshad anuttama sukhalabhaha. A beautiful state of unparalleled ease and bliss is there. What is happening is when we have that state of contentment, how does this bliss occur? Because unease and non-bliss, I'm creating a word there, non-bliss. blisslessness. Huh? Sounds funny. Blisslessness. Huh? They are because of dichotomy, division, duality, whereas oneness is contentment. So now if you go back, you will see that Saucha was the capacity to see oneness and stop differentiating based on sensory inputs. And now you are moving into a state where you are seeing the oneness rather than that duality that leads to discrimination. Discrimination does not exist if you do not see duality. It is only when you perceive duality that you would discriminate against somebody based on whatever you feel is different in them as compared to you. I think one of the things young children have it is this capacity to see oneness. You take kids, especially when they're in kindergarten, and you put them together, they don't care whether you are Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Jew, atheist, white, black, fat, thin, tall. Nothing matters to them. The kids just play. I tell you, that is why we need to be childlike. We need to have that beautiful spirit of being able to relate to each other. And then what happens? Parents teach the kid, you are different, that kid is different. Who teaches it? The parents. Why do the parents teach it? Because society has been built on that. It's utopian. My hope is utopian, that we should be able to value each other for what we are. That beautiful Atma. It has to be a heart-to-heart connection. It has to be a soul-to-soul connection, not a connection based on external appearances. External appearances are temporary. And we are building relationships on temporary appearances. We are building relationships on shifting sand. If a relationship is based heart to heart, soul to soul, that relationship is going to go from strength to strength. You know, when we can be content with whatever we have, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, we will be at ease with ourselves. Now, people think, oh, being content is being lazy. Tamasika contentment is laziness. But this is not Tamasika contentment. Tamasika is people who don't do anything or clever enough to have somebody do it for them. That usually happens when you get up into managerial positions. Rajasika is the quality of people seeking recognition. But then the Sattvika Sadhaka, the Sattvika Sadhaka is where they are doing without people knowing they're doing, because it's coming from a state of contentment. It's coming from a state of what we call sahaja. It is spontaneous. It is natural. It is automatic. They are in the flow. Psychology talks about the flow experience. That is the Sattvika contentment. And this is why contentment is not, please underline this. Please underline, I'm going to highlight it. Contentment is not complacency or stagnation. Those who are stuck in a comfortable rut are not experiencing santosham. They are just sleepwalking through life. Through santosham, you are vitally awake and alert. And that is why it is a dynamic state of contentment, where every moment you are striving to do your best, but you are contented with whatever is coming as the rest. Do your best, leave the rest. You are doing your best and accepting whatever comes back. The peak of Ishvara Pranidhana is coming alive through Santosha. That is why Patanjali says you can be at ease with yourself. You know, most of the time, I think what happens is that the discontent is where the comparison comes in. We start to compare ourselves with others. We start to compare, oh, look at that person, they are making more than me. They are in a better position in life than me, and maybe I should have gone that path. All this type of stuff comes up. This is the discontentment that is coming from the subconscious, unconscious. Where does that come from? Discontent comes from comparison. Comparison can only come when you feel duality. If you don't feel duality, there's no comparison. And if there's no comparison, there's no discontentment. So one leads to the other, and the other leads to the one. And I think this is something that I remember telling Divya many times in school. I've told Anandaji also, but he's in a different boat, because Anandaji is like, he doesn't really care about this yet. Divya has always taken it a bit more seriously. That person is doing this, saying this. It's a different, each of us has a different approach. And what I used to tell her is, I don't actually care what other people in your class get as far as marks go, grades go. They are not my daughter, you are my daughter, okay? And you are going to be my daughter, and I'm going to love you irrespective of whatever the grade or the mark is. And it's not about comparing. Oh, you got 1 mark less than that person. And it happens in families. India, we are so bitten by this disease called, even worse than the COVID-19. It's called the comparison bug. And parents in India are infected by it to the nth degree. The kid comes home and says, hey mom, hey dad, or amma, appa, whatever they say. And they say, I got 96%. And the first question comes, what did that other girl in your class get? And if you say 97, it's like, you stupid idiot, you are not doing well. I tell you seriously, I've just seen this. I have worked with thousands of young kids in my life, and I have seen this again and again and again. Instead of saying, my darling, you have got 96, you have done your best, the kid has achieved. The kid has done well. Instead of saying, you have done well, we start to compare. What did that other kid in your class get? And if they had got 1 mark more, you are a failure and I am a failure, and what will society think of us? For God's sake, I tell you, this discontent that is there. Can't we understand that kid is unique? Each kid is unique. Each person is unique. As someone said, if you try to judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to fail 1,000 times out of 1,000 times. And if you were to judge a monkey from its ability to swim in the deep sea, it's going to fail 1,000 times out of 1,000 times. Because a monkey is not designed to swim in the deep sea. A fish is not designed to be on top of a tree. This is where that contentment comes in, that you say, have you done your best? I think that the most important thing as a parent, as a teacher, as a human being, is that the people we are guiding, the people we are mentoring, are they doing their best or are they not doing their best? That is all. That is what we have to guide them. And what is their best? It is only compared to their own potential, what that person can be, as Abraham Maslow has said. What you can be, you must be. Again, be, not do. What you can be, you must be. And I think that is the message, not, oh, so-and-so, look at that, yoga school has 35 students and you only have 32. See, even one good student, you are better than someone who has 32 crazy people who don't even have any gratitude to the teacher. But we are always looking at, oh, I'm doing all of this and I have only 32. On some of the days when I started my online series, I used looking at how many people are viewing my sessions. Oh my God, there are only 5 people watching. And then suddenly, before you know it, it's 35. And you're like, okay, 35. And then some other day it comes 32. You're like, oh my God, yesterday 35, today 32. I'm like, stop that, Ananda. You are doing it for the sake of doing it, not because of whether it's 32 people or 35 people. And for the record, today it was 46. So yes, I do take note of it, but that doesn't define you. That doesn't define you. Whether your video has 3,500 likes or 32 likes or nobody's even bothered to view it till now. What does it matter? You have learned your experience in doing it. That is where contentment comes in. You have learned your experience by doing it. As Swamiji would say, the reward for a job well done is to have done it well. The reward for a job well done is to have done it well. But we always want something in addition to it. Of course, he used to also add the reward for a job well done is more work. And that happens in most institutions where the person who does the job well and efficiently keeps getting loaded with more work, which is why in Indian government service, people learn how to, from the beginning, do the least possible at the lowest level of efficiency so that nobody will ever give you any work. I have people in the banking sector who know that too well. Because every time they take more work, everybody piles it on the head. Contentment is not stagnation. Do not mistake them. Contentment is living. Stagnation is dead. That's the difference between living and dead. And that is why when dichotomy disappears, we have nothing to gain or nothing to lose. It is like energy. When you realize you are pure energy, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Finished. It is just changing from form to form. That is the contentment of energy itself. You realize you are just changing from day to day and from event to event, and that's just part of the energy change that is happening. Shiva, Shiva, Shiva. That's what. And this is where what happens is that we get locked in the sensory perception of externalized attachment. Because we think that if I get a degree, I get a job, I get a wife, I get a child, I get a house, a car, it will bring me happiness. External things can never bring you happiness. This has been said by every philosopher in every culture. Every philosopher in every culture has told it. Because what happens the moment you think, if I just have one house, I'm going to be happy. After you get one house, you realize you want a second one. The problem is it just adds to it. It keeps on wanting more and more and more. And that is why you are feeding discontent. What we need to feed is contentment, not discontent. And this is why discontent is cultivated by modern advertising. And again, world of yoga. Yoga will solve all your problems. Yoga will cure all your disease. Come to yoga and everything will be fine. Most probably not. Come to yoga and you will realize you have problems you never knew you had because you were sleepwalking through life. That is what normally happens. Yoga can help you cope better with your condition. I'm not going to say it's going to solve your problem. Because what is happening, we are feeding discontent. The yoga today, the market gadgets. Oh my God, I tell you seriously. Mats, straps, bricks, belts, trendy tops, bottoms, the latest yoga leotard. Your yoga leotard is outdated. My yoga pants are the latest model compared to yours. Are you up to date with your yoga pants? Yoga just needs you, nothing else. You don't need anything else. You just need yourself. But you go and join a yoga school in Chennai, and before you even start the first class, they give you a huge bag filled with yoga kit. A yoga mat, a top, a headband, an armband. I was seriously, when someone showed me one of those displays, I was like, wow, I live on a different planet. I live on a different planet. If you don't have the right mat, you cannot practice. It has to be non-sticky. It has to be organic. All these labels we put on to stuff, I tell you seriously. You come to the ashram and you come to Yoga Anjali, we have 100 kids in a class and no mat. We don't need a mat, okay? The kids have more fun. You put a mat and the kids don't like it. You don't need this. We have made yoga into such a business where you have to have more and more. And again, more techniques, more certification. For what? It's like more junk. More junk. Piling junk on top of junk on top of junk on top of junk. Yoga should be removing the junk. We are adding junk in the name of yoga on top of ourselves. Now, I'm not telling you don't try to learn. Learning is different. But don't think that you are this whole idea of accumulation is the opposite of santosha. Santosha is decluttering. Declutter your life so that you are happy with the bare necessities. Jungle Book. Bare necessities. Huh? Swamiji had what? Maybe 3 or 4 dhotis, I think 2 kurtas. I've often talked about it. He had one watch that looked something like this watch. That's why I like this type of watch. He had a watch which looked like that, and I put it in his samadhi with him. Someone said, why are you throwing away a good watch? I said, let him keep it with him. Huh? He had one black bag, I think 1 pair of slippers. He had that radio, yes. And he would go out and people would say, Swamiji, give me some money. He said, my pockets are empty. He didn't hold on to things. He slept on the roof in a hut. He said, I can hear the ocean because he was a sailor in World War II. He said, I love hearing the waves. It just sounds so nice. Simplicity. Simplicity is contentment. And people make it so complex. When I listen to people talk about yoga and yoga therapy these days, they make things so complex. I'm like, oh my God, Ananda, what's happened? Santosha is to tune into your Anandamaya Kosha. It is a concept of Nishkama. You are doing for the sake of doing. You are what you are. Not the worst form of but not comparing to anybody. You are on your own path. Because if we are caught up with the results of our action, this anticipation and expectation of the result content. And that is why when we are ready for it, everything we need will be given to us. I'm not saying everything you want. Everything you need will come to you. That is where Santosha comes in. Can you accept it with grace? Coming to the next of the niyamas, this tapaswadhyaya Ishvara pranidhana becomes Kriya Yoga. So I'm just going to take a moment to make sure you're all alive there. Gurleen, this is so simple to understand, but outside world is so filled with distraction. We get trapped. Yes, nothing wrong. As long as you know you are getting trapped, you can at least try to work your way out of it. If you think like the rat thinks it's getting the cheese and gets trapped, if you know that that cheese is there to trap you, you can sort of sidestep that trap a bit more consciously. And sometimes you fall into the trap. Nothing wrong about it. There is nothing to feel bad about falling down. If you don't get up, I'll get mad at you. Gangster yogi will come and get you. See, falling down, we all fall down. We all make mistakes. Do you learn from it? Do you grow because of it? That's all that matters. And that is why, yeah, as Val said, I know this is one issue because recently YouTube decided to monetize some of my videos. And if I'm going to look at it for a few months and then see whether it's worth letting them play advertisements before my videos or not, because seriously, that to me just seems so weird. So I wanted to see what it's looked like, but seriously, I know those issues. What I chose was skippable ads. I said only the skippable ads at the beginning and end that people can skip if they want. Nothing in between, because I know this issue is there. Less is all you need. Yeah, like my t-shirt given to me by Vijaya from Berlin. That was a beautiful t-shirt. You know, I think one of the most important, yeah, Lynn has asked a beautiful question. What about longing for the divine? Is this a spiritual discontent? Beautiful question. See, the desire for liberation is called mumukshutva. There's actually a word called it mumukshutva, M-U-M-U-K-S-H-U-T-V-A. Mumukshutva, mumukshutva. And the person who has that burning desire for liberation is called a mumukshu, M-U-M-U-K-S-H-U. So a mumukshu is one who has that burning desire of mumukshutva, burning desire for liberation. And this is important in the beginning of one's path, because you need to have that drive. But then as you get to the closer to the destination, you have to let go of this drive. That is where vairagya, especially para vairagya, the higher non-attachment comes in. So initially something that gave you the energy push that fueled your sadhana may actually have to be discarded as you grow further. And this is why I like to say it is like, you know, when they put a satellite out into space, they have a whole rocket to go with it. And the rocket has this thrust and it takes it up and then each part falls away. Have you watched that when they launch a satellite? It's a very beautiful experience. It's a spiritual experience again, where that rocket goes up. It's a huge rocket, and then part by part it falls away as it goes up, and then finally just that small satellite goes into orbit. But you need this whole apparatus and all the thrust of the rocket energy to get there. But then once you get there, you have to let go of it. I like to say it's like the ladder. You use a ladder to climb to the top of a building. You have to stop being on that ladder if you are to reach the top of the building. If you stay on that ladder, you are not going to get to the top of the building. So each of these has a place, but then ultimately you have to go beyond it. It is like we say, replace the negative tendencies with positive tendencies, but a tendency is always a tendency. So you have to outgrow even the positive tendencies in the end. Even the positive samskaras, you have to transcend them at the end. So initially, we do have it, but that's a beautiful question. This longing for the divine, is it a spiritual discontent? I will say yes, it's a spiritual discontent because you think the divine is different than you. So there is duality. As you grow and you realize you and the divine are one and the same, that will sort of fall away. It's again a state that happens, that goes on. Yes, I think we'll get on to. Gravity is like our samskaras and vasanas. I love that, Tony. That's a neat one. Yeah, how to deal with discontent of huge world issues we feel we have no control over, like China, politics, yoga, all that. Yes, Deepika, that is a private message, but no issue. For me, this private and public are the same. It's a beautiful one. I have often thought about it. What role do we have to actually play in all of this? And what I have to say is, if something is within your purview, you have to act. If something is not in your purview, it's none of your business. And that is where upekshanam, that distance, vairagya, keeping the distance, is so important in these things, because let those big guys battle it out. That's their business. And us thinking about it, us worrying about it is not going to solve the problem. So for me, if your thinking about it can solve it, please think about it. If you're worrying about it can solve it, please worry about it. If your thinking and worrying is not going to solve it, please stop thinking and worrying about it, because it makes no sense. You are using up your own energy resources and your battery will be dead soon. Very simple, pragmatic, practical approach. There are people who are to do that. Now, there will be times where these same politicians have to come back to you for your vote. Then you make a decision what you want. But what do? 40% of the population votes. And we call it a democracy. I always laugh at it in India, and everywhere is the same issue. Yeah? Someone gets like 22% of the vote and they are elected by majority. I don't know in which version of mathematics 22% is a majority. I don't know in which version of mathematics it is. But in electoral political mathematics, it's a majority, because what happens in India, you have 220 candidates in one constituency. When we used to have the ballot sheets, it goes in pages and pages. And even now you need a couple of computer screens to even list all the candidates. Because just people want to say, yes, I also stood in election. We have a whole group of people who just like to stand in election. They lose the deposit, nothing. But I stood against that person in election and I got 2 votes. Your family has 5 members, you get 2 votes. Means even 3 members of your own family didn't vote for you. Okay, that's actually the status we have here. But you know, they say, and each one takes away 5% of vote, 4%, and the guy who wins has 22% votes. Ridiculous. And the reason is, most of the time, we think we can, there we can make a difference. And I think one thing that we people have to realize is that there are times where we need to vote, because I have been there, I know that. What's it going to make a difference? You know that story of the people who had a temple function. In India, when we have a temple event, each household of the village brings a pot of milk and puts it in a big container, and then that milk is used for all the rituals. So one person in the village thought, everybody is bringing a pot of milk. If I put a pot of water, it will not matter. And so they put a pot of water. But the problem was, everybody in the village was having that same thought. Whether I put a pot of milk or pot of water doesn't matter. And the next day they looked at this big container and there was no milk at all, because everybody had only put water, thinking it didn't matter. This thing that I am an individual, my voice doesn't matter, is like that story. So I think we need to express in the appropriate way. We need to state things when they will be heard. But getting uptight about it and worrying about it solves nothing. And nothing will be solved by getting uptight about it. As simple as that, especially world issues, because these are, even the politicians have no control. It's a huge mafia that's out there. It's a huge mafia, the drug mafia, the weapons mafia. These guys, they are, now you'll have the vaccine mafia. And now that we have COVID-19, vaccine mafia has got a very big boost now. So whether you like it or not, vaccines are going to be there. And they're going to say, yeah, fine, you have to have it because that's good for the world. Now, whether the vaccine is going to kill you, who cares? I tell you, there are issues, okay? I'm not going to get into the vaccine debate because it's again, vaccination, vegetarianism, religion, politics. 4 things. Don't get into arguments. They'll never be solved. They'll just go on and on and on. And so that's that. Coming back, Tapa. Yeah, huge race for COVID vaccine. India's into it. And our scientists have been told August 15th, Indian Independence Day, the Prime Minister must announce it. So get it done. Research is done in such, I'm surprised. And the research organization of India says, August 15th, you have to have a result of your study, positive result, it means. So the Prime Minister can announce it. We are just amazing. There's no science in that at all. None of the scientific rigor is being followed in this whole thing. Anyway, whatever. If it can save lives, I'm for it. That's all I'll say. If it can save lives, I'm for it. But if it's about people making money, well, we have to be careful. Coming back. Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishvara, Pranidhana. The triple vaccine. Speaking of vaccines, the triple vaccine against the kleshas. The kleshas, you need the triple vaccine to deal with the kleshas. That's one vaccine that's good, for sure. And the kleshas are these distorters of our perspective. The kleshas distort our perspective beyond anything. Avidya, ignorance, and this is not the not knowing ignorance, it is the confused knowing. So you think you know the answer, but you don't know the answer. And we have a lot of these people in power who arrogant, ignorant people who avidya is just amazing there. The avidya is so great. Because of that ignorance of reality, a confused reality is created. And so we say, I am different than you. I am different than the universe. We start to think that we are different. That is where the asmita comes in, the sense of egoism. The ego that says you are different than me, that comes into play. The moment you are different than me and I am me, I have my likes, I have my dislikes. Who has the likes and dislikes? This false image of me has it. There are no likes and dislikes for the Atma. The divine universe has no likes or dislikes. The universe has no favoritism. The universe is beyond any form of discrimination because there's only oneness. When there is oneness, how can there be discrimination? Dvitiyam kutasyat. How can there be duality, says Adi Shankara in Dasa Sloki. Dvitiyam kutasyat. But the moment, because of ignorance, we say, I am me, mal-identification syndrome. Mal-identification syndrome. You have created your own identity, which is totally a creation of your own artificial ignorance. And now you have the arrogance to say, I know it all, because the ego comes in. I know it better than anybody else has ever known it. There are some people who go around talking like that. There's someone who knows it better than me. Huge asmita that comes out of ignorance. And because of that me, that perceives everything in a state of distinction, I start to discriminate by saying, I like this, I don't like this. So this is good, that is bad. And I start to classify things. And because of this, I start to have stress because I want something, I am not getting it. I am stressed. I don't want that, but I'm getting it. I am stressed. It's like the kid. I want a sweet and mama is giving me dosa, which is not a sweet. I want a dosa, but mom is giving me an idli. I want a pizza and I'm getting a burger. I want a burger, I'm getting a plate of fresh, green, healthy salad. Because mom says greens are good for you. So what you want, you are not getting, you are stressed. What you don't want, you are getting, you are stressed. And you go into distress. Who is creating the distress? This artificially created sense of you. Why do you have it? Because you don't know that everything is one, you think you are different. That is why Swamiji said, the first insanity is to think that you are different than the universe in which you live. The first insanity is to think you are different than the universe in which you live. You forget the oneness that is there and you create a duality. And in that duality, you start to get pulled apart by the pairs of opposites. The dvandva, dvandva, dva, dva. Dva means two. Dvandvas are the pairs of opposites. Like and dislike, praise and blame, hot and cold. In fact, on one of these pages, I gave a whole list of them. I have to go back and see. Where was that? Yeah. In this Living the Yama Niyama, page 3, I have talked about this. Page 3 of the Yama Niyama, Living the Yama Niyama, lesson 2. Some pairs of opposites, north and south, right and left, ha and ta, loma and viloma, Shiva, Shakti, Surya, Chandra, Prana, Apana, Dvaita, Advaita, male, female, possible, impossible, white, black, complete, incomplete, create, destroy, pleasant, unpleasant, east, west, heads, tails, like, dislike, in, out, up, down, balance, imbalance, individuality, universality, head, heart, duality, non-duality, thoughts, emotions, cations, anions, happiness, sadness, positive, negative. That's a whole list which my kids gave me at Yoganjali when I took that session. I had them each give one and we wrote it out on a whiteboard and then we typed it up. Kids give you an amazing list. When I just started off with a couple of them and the kids just gave me this whole list. And then one of them even went on to say, one of the kids, young kids, said even Guru Shishya can be considered a pair of opposites. Because does the teacher exist without the student and does a student exist without a teacher? Seriously, I tell you, kids give amazing answers. I just love this concept. These dualities exist. Why do they exist? And you get attached to them. That is why Adi Shankara, again Dashasloki, it is a statement of non-duality. He says there is neither teacher nor taught. Na shishyo, na siksha. Na chatvam, na chaham. You don't exist, I don't exist. Na chatvam, na chaham. Na chayam prapancha. Even this universe you think is there, even that doesn't exist. It is just the pure consciousness that is there. This morning when I was cycling, and I have started increasing my range of cycling over this week, 1 kilometer each day, trying to get back. I was laughing at myself. I said the other day, I said, you know, I've done 20 kilometers this week, and I'm like, I used to do 22 per day. I went 20 in a week. It's interesting how far you go away from it. And I was thinking, what should I offer next? And I was thinking, it may be a nice idea to actually go into some of these beautiful scriptures that during the 6th month I teach. The Dasa Sloki of Adi Shankara, which I quote so often, the Lingashtakam, the Gayatri mantras, the mantras that are favorites of Swamiji, the Guru Stotram. And I was just thinking, how could I set it up? Because to have all of you chant at the same time would be cacophony personified. So, how to have that happen without it becoming noise and being music. In fact, last week, Meena was telling me, she said, why don't you organize something like this? And, start going into these things which you do in the 6th month, because people who don't do the 6 months never get that part from you. And in 6 months, we do it because I go through the Lingashtakam, each of the 8 verses, and understand it beyond what we normally do. And that is why I was just thinking about it, because that's a sloki to me. This is Adi Shankara. So people will say, oh, that's Vedanta, not yoga. And like, that's again duality. For me, it's all oneness. The whole Indian cultural perspective of the Shat Darshana, they come together as one for me. And for me, yoga is about seeing the oneness in everything. Anyway, tapa, as Patanjali tells us here, he says tapa is that which enables us to purify ourselves. It is a process of purification. We talked about Shodhana and Shuddhi and Saucha. Here you have an actual process of purification because it is the fire of discipline. The fire of discipline. And you know, anybody who works with gold and molds gold into different shapes, they know they have to heat that gold. The people who make these beautiful glass beautiful glass pieces, how much heat has to be there for that glass to be shaped into the shape they want. In fact, there's a glass, an artist who works with glass near the ashram in Savona. And this person has never seen a Ganesha, but they convinced him to actually make glass idols of Ganesha. And it was quite an amazing thing. He liked it so much that he made one for himself to keep in his shop. He liked making Ganesha, and you have to heat it tremendously. It is that heat that enables the reshaping of the material to happen. If you want to reshape yourself, tapa is a must. Without tapa, there cannot be the reshaping. Reshaping cannot happen. Yes, Bernadette, it's glass blowing. See, I learned something today. Kayendriya siddhi, ashuddhi kshayad, ashuddhi, all the impurity, kshayad, are destroyed by tapasaha. What is this kaya and indriya? Kaya means the body. Indriya means the senses. What he is saying is all the impurities that are there in the body and the sensory apparatus, all the bodily imperfections, all the aspects that need to be toned up in you physically and sensorily, through your sensory apparatus, because your sensory perception is so warped, you have messed everything up. How do you purify it? How do you clean it? Tapa. That is why the heat of tapa. Tapa is, to me, discipline. And he says through that discipline, one attains that absolute perfection. Because what has happened is that we are so lazy as a race. We want the benefit, but we don't want to make the effort. And so if a teacher describes yoga as strict, disciplined effort, all your students run away. But the truth is, yoga is discipline, and nothing but discipline at all levels. Self-discipline, it is not an externalized discipline, it is a self-discipline. And this is why, of course, those who want to make a lot of money as a yoga teacher, if you can just find a way that you do the yoga and your clients get the benefit, they'll pay you a lot for that. Spectator yoga, that would be very popular. You do the practice, they get the benefit. Find a way to transfer it online. Seriously, you would be richer than Bill Gates. I'll tell you that much. We humans are so lazy. Television yoga, book yoga, and you know, let them eat popcorn, drink a nice hot drink on the house. Yeah, and they get the benefit for you doing the yoga. Isn't that what teachers are supposed to do? You know, Radu, Shrikant, all of these people, they are teachers. And I think you are supposed to entertain your students more than teach them these days. Because the idea is that, you know, they should have a wonderful time, right? I mean, people should have a wonderful time. They don't want to learn. I think we have to be very careful. People need to learn. People need to learn. But nowadays, it's all about the teachers should just be, you know, entertaining, and, you know, then they'll give a nice feedback. This whole idea about students giving feedback on teachers, I tell you, that is absolute BS. And I'm going to say BS, yes. Because, you know, it's not about, oh, the teacher's so nice, they have a nice voice, they dress so well, they're so kind to me. Are you learning what you need to learn? And nobody is checking that. And so then the teachers have to be nice. You have to be on your best behavior for your students. For God's sake, the student should be on the best behavior for the teacher, not the teacher on best behavior for the student. We have got it so messed up. It's like, asking kids to give feedback on the parents at home. Seriously. As it is, we have trouble with disciplining kids. And imagine the kids, every week, your parent had to give the kid, small kids, okay? And you had to give them a form and they had to fill out, Mummy was good this week and Papa was good this week and Papa did everything right and Mama did everything right. Imagine that. We are virtually at that stage of the human stupidity. We are basically at that stage. Not about what's good for you, but about this feedback. This whole nonsense that has come in. Anyway, that's the. So tapa is discipline. Through discipline, what happens? You purify your body, you purify the senses so that they are working at the best possible level so that then you can go forward in your efforts. Swadhyaya. Patanjali gives us a statement. He says, Swadhyaya Ishta Devata Samprayoga. Ishta Devata. Now this is translated as the form of the divine, the God you like. So in India, if you say, what is your Ishta Devata? Somebody will say Shiva, somebody will say Krishna, somebody will say Hanuman. This is the Ishta Devata, which means that form of God you love or you like. But actually, for me, Ishta Devata is not the form of God you like, but your own inherent divinity. So through Swadhyaya, what is happening? You are getting in touch with your own inherent divinity. And that is where, through introspectional self-analysis, we become one with our inherent divinity. This is not about the way it is perceived normally is, oh, if you like Ganesha and you do Swadhyaya, Ganesha you will have a vision of Ganesha. Ishta Devata Samprayoga. You will become one with Ganesha, you will become one with Shiva, you will become one with Vishnu and blah, 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 and everybody is very happy. It is about you connecting to your own inherent divinity. That is where yoga is different than religion. Because religion always has you close to God. You can be loved by God. You will be the special of God, but you cannot be God. Religion doesn't want you to be God. Yoga says, well, if you consider it as God, you are God. You are the divine. You are the universe. And you get in touch with that. I tell you, it is an amazing, this is where yoga goes on any limitation that God is only in this form, the divine is only in this form. Yes, we sing to Shiva, we sing to Krishna, we sing to Rama, Radhe, 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 or Nandalala, Yadu Nandalala. Nice, okay. Hare Shiva Shankara, Shashankar Shekhar. Nice, good. All of that, what is that? That is to help us go through the process. But ultimately, all of it is about connecting to your own inherent divinity. Shivoham, 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 Soham. Satchidananda Swarupoham. Nice singing by Kamala today. I was watching your YouTube. When we realize it, we are that divine. It doesn't mean I am the divine, bow down to me. I am the divine, so, my visiting card should say, the divine Ananda, for God's sake. You have people running around doing that. What it means is you are connecting to that non-divided, undivided state of oneness, where that divinity can manifest through your thought, word, and action. That is why Saucha Santosha were there. So by the time you come to Tapa and Swadhyaya, you are now ready to actually understand your own divinity. You are able to tune into it. And this is why the capacity to have that connectivity. The Vedas tell us, Aham Brahmasmi, I am that highest Brahman itself. And this is where detached introspection, skillful self-analysis, we have a communion with our own deity, our own divinity. And that is what we need to connect to. Initially, there will be distinction. We'll say, oh, Rama looks like that, Krishna looks like that, Buddha looks like this, Christ looks like that. Well, that is an externalized form, we say. Then you go beyond the form. The form is called Saguna. Yes, one of the mantras we have to learn is the Ganesha Atharvasesha, where we talk about the Saguna, the form of Ganesha, which can be understood through the guna. Sa means with, guna, saguna. So it is with the form. So you say, Ekadantam chaturhastam pashamankushadarinam. He has one tusk and four hands, and each of the hands has a different instrument. One hand is blessing you and the other is giving you. And he has a flag that is having the mouse on it. Ekadantam chaturhastam pashamankushadarinam abhayam vagadam hastam bibranam mushikadvajam. I was translating that into English. Raktam lambodaram. He is red and having a pot belly. Imagine you are worshipping God and saying, you who has that beautiful pot belly, only with Ganesha you can do that. Lambodara. Lambodara means one who has this pot belly. It's just I just love this. You can talk to God in this way. Lambodharam, Shurpa Karnakam. You have these huge ears. Sounds like Red Robin Hood and the wolf. You have those huge eyes and huge teeth, huge ears, and you are huge and you are red. And Ganesha has no dressing sense. He is red. He wears red clothes and he has red sandal paste and he has red flowers. Definitely he belongs to Maharashtra. Maharashtra is a state in India where Ganesha is fully red. It's a very beautiful bright red of Maharashtra Ganesha. And in Maharashtra, I did my medical training in Maharashtra. I think the best part of the year was the 10 days when they have the Ganesha Puja. It is an amazing time, I tell you. Amazing, amazing, amazing. If you want to know what splendid culture is, splendid culture, these are just amazing, amazing examples. Swadhyaya is where you go from the saguna to the nirguna, from that which has attributes that can be described to the indescribable, beyond the attributes, formless form, timeless time, spaceless space. You go beyond the form, formless form, beyond time, timeless time, and beyond space, spaceless space. Beyond the subtle, beyond the subtle. We say, Vyom Vyomaya Vidmahe Sukshma Sukshmaya Dhimahi Tanno Sukshmaha Prachodayate. The Gayatri mantra for the Sahasrara Chakra. Going beyond the Vyoma, going beyond the Sukshma, that space beyond space, that subtlety beyond subtlety, that is where that energy is. And you are going from Saguna to Nirguna. So initially we need to know where we are, but then we need to go beyond it. It is not just a mere academic study. We need to understand it. It has to go straight to the heart. The heart and the head have to work together. And then it starts to come. And when that manifests, we start to understand what Ishvara is. What is this pure consciousness? That pure consciousness that was described by Patanjali. Patanjali describes Ishvara. He says that Vishesha Purusha, that entity that is a specialized entity beyond the kleshas and the karma. Klesha karma vipaka ashayai aparamrishta Purusha Vishesha Ishvara. That Ishvara who is beyond the klesha and karma. So what are we? We are all Ishvara. We are all that pure consciousness, but that pure consciousness is blocked by the klesha and karma. You get rid of klesha and karma, you become Ishvara. That is the message of Patanjali. In Kaivalya, you are Ishvara. What a beautiful message Patanjali is giving us. You are the divine, but you have to get rid of all that gunk that is covering you. That divinity that is hidden by the nonsense, that junk. Clean up that junk and the divinity shines forth. And that is why in Ishvara Pranidhana, when you can completely give over to the highest, What are you giving over? You are giving over to yourself. The lower self is giving over to the higher self, not to somebody else. And that is why giving in, giving over, letting down, letting over, letting go. Samadhi is attained through that. Surrender to the divine. What is this surrender? This is not a negative word. This is where you have totally given over. This is not because of fear. This is because of trust. Normally we associate surrender with fear. That is the negative surrender. The positive surrender is trust. And from that trust comes the ability to surrender, because it's like the baby. You know, again, you could be arrested for this type of thing these days, but you know, many fathers are seen, they take the baby, throw the baby in the air and catch the baby. I think you could be penalized legally these days if you were to do that. But you know, when that father is throwing the baby, that baby is not crying. That baby is not scared. That baby is actually having full trust that my papa is going to catch me as I come down. It's a beautiful connectivity between the father and that baby. Of course, there are fathers who don't catch the baby, and because of that, now you have rules that say don't do it, and then you may traumatize the skull, and the brain may have, you know, rebound tears in the meninges, and you know, all that nonsense that comes, that God knows what you can do these days. Can you even lift the baby, or is that against the law? What is that trust that comes? That is the trust which is the peak of Bhakti Yoga. The trust that Draupadi has. Her sari is being pulled off by the Kauravas in the Mahabharata. In the middle of this August assembly, her sari is pulled off. She's holding on to it. And at one point, Krishna hands in Anjali. And at that point, that Ishvara Pranidhana moment, a total trust-based giving over to the highest. And suddenly the miracle occurs. Sari after sari after sari after sari. Valandana, Valandana, Valandana way. Such a beautiful way Mahakavi Bharatiya in Panchali Sabadam has described that. Such colorful saris continuously coming, growing endlessly. Beautiful description. The peak of bhakti is that moment where Krishna, later on she asks Krishna. There's a version of this which was, it's sort of a modern version, where she actually asks Krishna. She says, Krishna, why didn't you come to help me? Why did you wait till I had to call you? Huh? Why did that moment have to come, that Sharanagati? It is called Sharanagati, that total surrender. Krishna says, up to that time, you were not calling me. You were saying, I will take care of it myself. I will do it. I will do it. I will do it. I will do it. So as long as the I was there, there was no place for me to come in. How can the divine come in when that big, bloated, fat ego of yours is taking up all the space? If your hard drive is already full, how can any new file come in? And your hard drive, thick skull, is filled with that ego that says, I can do it. Have you seen people who are like that? They, especially the ones who are totally incompetent. They are the ones who are like, I can do it. Huh? The most incompetent people think they can do it. The competent people often are very hesitant about it. And they're like, maybe I can, I'm not too sure. The competent people have the doubt. The incompetent are like, yeah, no problem. You ask an Indian carpenter, you give them a new model and you say, I want a desk like this. Yes, yes, no problem, sir. Have you ever made a desk in your life? No, sir, but no problem, sir. Do you know what a desk looks like? No, sir, but no problem, I will do, sir. You're like, seriously? Huh? You have got this perfect, overconfident answer. Be careful of such answers. Huh? Whenever people say, yeah, no problem, I can do it. I'm like, okay, that's a problem. That's one of those telltale signs that watch out. The people who can actually do it have so much self-doubt. It's astonishing, actually. The most competent people I know have so much self-doubt. And I'm like, they're the people who, as Swamiji says, you need to give a kick in the back to get them moving forward. That's what Ganesha does. Gives you a kick in the back so that you move forward. Be thankful to people who kick you in the back because they are helping you move forward. That concept of Sharanagati, we need to let our barriers down. We are not the doer. We are the instruments of the divine will. Narayana Bhava, Narayana Arpana Bhava, and Nimitta Bhava. These three attitudes are there. That is why when we are looking at the ego, we can imagine it as a piece of dark clay. And if you look at it, all you see is the clay. But then as you slowly remove the clay, the face emerges. Doing our best, making our effort. Swadhyaya has to be before Ishvara Pranidhana, because before you give yourself totally, you need to know what you are giving. What are your strengths? What are your limitations? A pilot needs to know the exact working of his jet plane so that he can lift off at the right moment. That is why Swadhyaya has to come before Ishvara Pranidhana. It is a precise moment where you have to take off. And that is why Swadhyaya. And what is the energy that propels you forward? Tapa. That is why Tapa is the energy that propels you. Swadhyaya is knowing when is the moment. And Ishvara Pranidhana is the process of letting go. Letting go without the energy. You have never run forward. How will you jump? If you're going to jump, you need to have, you need that pre-jump run to get enough momentum to jump. That is the tapa. People, they don't have the tapa, but they have, I'm going to give over to the divine. It's like trying to jump without any momentum. You're lucky if you get off the ground. That is why when people told Swamiji, oh, Swamiji, I want to renounce everything. He said, what have you earned to renounce? First you earn something. First you have something. Then you can let go. It has to be do your best first and then the leave the rest. People only want to do the leave the rest. They forget the do the best. And then there are the others who are so caught in doing the best, they forget they have to let go sometimes. And they run right through everything. Now, if you keep running, you're disqualified, okay? In the long jump, there's a point you stop running, you jump and take off. Then keep on running onto the sand. In school days, I was the athletic champion in my final year of school. So I have a lot of these experiences. And the kids, they would come running. Just run right through it. Our coach is like, you're disqualified. And then the others who jump 1 meter before the takeoff point. And he's like, seriously, you should have the momentum. You have to take off at a certain point. You have to know the point to take off, and then you have to take off. You have to let go of the earth to fly in the sky. As long as you're holding on to earth, you cannot fly in the sky. The first lesson to fly is you have to let go of what you're holding on to, or what is holding you back. And to know what you're holding on to or what is holding you back, you need the Swadhyaya. Everything is going together. Tapa is doing what you said you will do. You start something, make sure you end it. That is tapa. You have taken up an assignment. For God's sake, make sure you fulfill that assignment. That is tapa. Otherwise, you become a puddle digger. There are so many people. They make a puddle. They're digging little bit here, little bit there, and you have puddles. You need to go deep. You need to dig in the same place deep. Then you hit gold. You hit oil. You hit diamonds. When you dig deep in the same place, you hit yourself. You find yourself. But what do? We try a little bit. I will do it if I feel like it. For God's sake. I will do it if I feel like it. Is the opposite of tapa. Tapa is to keep at it, to fight the good battle, to be a brave heart, as Shobana told us with her peahen. And in my last class, she had a peahen, she had a dog, she had a cat, and some other creature also attending my class. So this is very nice because I get to know that it's not just human beings who are getting my message, but some beautiful animals who may be better students than all of you put together. My father used to always say that the crows were better students than his students in class. He said they listen better. He said, our dogs in the ashram attend more yoga classes properly than the students. Huh? And they are there. Seriously. You know, Dattatreya, the great teacher, he had gurus who were so many animals were his gurus. How did that animal become a guru? By being aware, by being itself. And that is why tapa is the capacity to finish what you have started. Tapa is the ability to keep going when the tough times come. You know, when that fourth cycle of the yantra comes, getting through it alive is tapa. Do not let the problems push you down. That is tapa. Do not let others push you down. Do the push-ups. And now they have new push-ups where you clap and then you clap behind your back and all this stuff. Our Indian cricketers are doing the challenges with that stuff. Anandaji does a lot of that. He loves all his push-ups and that guy is doing amazing these days. He's got the spirit of the yoga practice and his taekwondo, and now he's really working on his academics also. Nice to see that. I still have to watch out for his kicks, and his mother has to watch out that she doesn't get kicked by him, because you never know when he's going to kick you or punch you. That's that energy of the teen. Tapa is that effort. Can you make that effort? Can you fight that battle? Can you do what you are to do? So important, I tell you, because we are thinking of Tapa Swadhyaya Ishwar Pranidhana. I tell you, 99% of yoga schools, and I'm sorry to say this is not being judgmental for those who wonder about it, but 99% of yoga schools teach the Yama Niyama as if it is just some theory in the sky, and that, you know, you need to know that name for the sake of passing an exam, or it is given such not even stepmotherly. I don't even know what it is. Treatment. These are the principles of yoga. Without the Yama Niyama, without Tapa Swadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhana, your yoga practice, if it is only asana and pranayama, Kriya Bandha Mudra, put in a Shavasana for 10 minutes if you want, and so-called meditation and yoga nidra, you are going to strengthen the negative parts of you rather than the positive parts. That is why Swamiji said, a thief becomes a better thief, a criminal becomes a better criminal, a murderer becomes a better murderer, a cheat becomes a better cheat. If the Yama Niyama are not part and parcel of the yoga sadhana. Because if that change doesn't happen, the rest of the yoga practices, asana, pranayama, mudra, bandha, will strengthen whatever is there. And if what is there is negative, you have made that person the biggest, strongest, most intelligent villain of all times. The best of the villains of James Bond movies. You don't want that, okay? That's not what yoga is for. And this is why people are scared of the Yama Niyama. Why are they scared of the Yama Niyama? Because the Yama Niyama make you look at yourself. You can do the asana and submit a video. I was chair of a committee for the Ministry of Ayush, which judged my yoga, my life videos for the yoga day. The other day we have released the results of the Indian version. And I was looking beautiful videos of kids doing amazing asanas, and very nice. But then my question is it just a show? Is it just an externalized show that look at me, hey ma, look at me? Or is it actually something that is happening within us? We have to be very careful because the real yoga actually cannot be seen because it is so deeply inside us. And that is why people are scared of it, because whether somebody is sleeping in class or in deep meditation, you have no idea. For all I know, you could be in deep sleep, and I think you're all meditating there. Because your audio is off, you could be listening to Michael Jackson singing there, and George Michael, and you could be doing whatever. I can see you, Adu. Yeah, I see you, moving around. I know that you are in one of those rock and roll music things, and you're not even listening to a single thing I'm saying there. And Kim has her earphones, and she's, looking like she's looking at me, but she's actually listening to the latest pop music. We never know what's happening inside the person. How do I know what's happening in you? Most people don't even know what's happening in themselves because they're never focused on themselves. That is why people are scared of the Yama Niyama. And teachers are scared to talk about it because, again, people say, oh, is it again the 10 commandments? Is it another religion? Am I going to go to hell? You again go off on a total different track. That is why it has to be reframed as the principles for yogic living. The Yama Niyama are the principles of yogic living. And yoga is a way of life. So if yoga is a way of life, what are the principles of yoga living? They are the Yama Niyama. Because when the subhuman part is brought under control, when the humane part is manifest, then at that point, the other practices of yoga can strengthen the good wolf in you. You have to know which is the good wolf, which is the bad wolf. So without Swadhyaya, without all of these, each one of them connects. And that is why I just wanted to show you this diagram in the living the Yama Niyama. Before that, I just wanted to give you on page 17. Like we had for the Yama, for the Niyama, we had a song for the kids. And what we say is, I have tried to sort of capture the Tamil in English, but it's very tough. I will be clean, I will be clean. Contentment is a state of mind that I will hold close to my heart. Contentment is a state of mind. I just zoom that in a bit. You can see you all squinting. Yeah. Be careful. Watching you. I will be clean. Contentment is a state of mind that I will hold close to my heart. I will be well disciplined and try to understand my inner being. I will be well disciplined and try to understand my inner being. Accepting with joy all that is given by the divine will. Accepting with joy all that is given by the divine will. When I am so, I will be peaceful. I will be at peace, for when I live the niyamas, I will have peace eternally. So just as we said, you don't have fear when you live the yama. The yama enable you to live in a state of fearlessness. The niyamas enable you to manifest a state of peacefulness. Iruppen, suttama iruppen, kolven, manadil thirthi kolven. Kadina thavam iruppen, தன்னைத்தான் அறிய முயற்சிப்பேன் அவனருளால் அவன்தாள் வணங்கி அனைத்தையும் ஆனந்தமாய் ஏற்பேன் சாந்தமுண்டு என்னிடத்தில் சாந்தமுண்டு நியமத்தை வாழும் போது சாந்தமுண்டு என்றுமே. That shantam, that peacefulness, சாந்தமுண்டு என்னிடத்தில் சாந்தமுண்டு நியமத்தை வாழும் போது சாந்தமுண்டு என்றுமே. That is the peacefulness that comes through the niyamas. So the yama are enabling us to be fearless. Niyama is manifesting peace. And that is why I just wanted today to conclude with these images, which I've already shared with you, where every one of the yama niyama are connected to each other. And this is not in any specific order. I just want you to know that everything is connected to each other. And if any of you wants to make a graphic representation that is better, please do so. share with me and I'll share it with credit. But this is just how everything is connected. Do not think they are separate. Each one is connected to each other. Each one feeds each other, which is why we have this other diagram, which is again a very nice one, because what it does is it enables us to understand how the ahimsa, satya, asteya, aparigraha, brahmacharya, they are the outer circle, and then you have the inner circle of saucha, santosha, tapaswadhyaya, ishvara, pranidhana, and how each is sort of feeding the other and keeping the other moving. So each one of the external limbs is keeping each other moving, simultaneously feeding the internal limb, and the internal is also feeding the external. Just I have been trying to give, a visual metaphor where we start to see this interconnectivity and how the yamas are feeding the niyamas and the niyamas are feeding the yama. So the subhuman is coming down and the humane is developing. As the humane develops, the subhuman comes down. As the subhuman comes down, the humane has a chance to develop. As fear goes down, peace has a chance to come forth. And as peace comes, fear goes down. So this coming down of the fear and the enhancement of the peace, both of these happening simultaneously and supporting, empowering each other. It is very important that we have these type. And another image which I also made here of how the yamas are each feeding each other and constantly also feeding the niyamas, and that is going back and forth. These were days when I may not have had much work to do, so I sat and did all this type of stuff. Nowadays, I don't know where I used to find time for this type of stuff, but well, it's a nice thing to go back and see these, because we again think of them, oh, yama niyama, that's all. But just keep them, let them come alive, because as they come alive, you actually become the best version of yourself. For me, it is just so important that the yama niyama are brought into our consciousness, that we start to know that they exist. We acknowledge them. I think the first step in yoga is to acknowledge the existence of the yama niyama. Many people, they are not acknowledging the yama niyama at all. They are trying to avoid it. And this is why acknowledge the yama niyama. Start to look at yourself. Again, be kind and don't be harsh on yourself. Observing yourself with regard to the yama niyama without identification, condemnation, or justification. Go back to those three angles that Amma has given us. The angle, the perspective. Observe yourself without identification, without condemnation, and without justification. Because that way, it is not about saying, oh, I am such a failure. No, nobody is a failure. Everybody is a work in progress. Nobody is a failure. Everybody is a work in progress. We are all a work of perfection in progress, okay? That is what we are working towards. We are all the divine in progress. It is so important. I cannot tell you how important the yama niyama are. Now, if you were to say, Dr. Ananda, are you perfect in them? I will say, of course not. I'll be the first to say, I am one of the most imperfect ones when it comes to yama niyama. Because I know what they can be. I know what they can be. And every time I compare with that, I'm going to say, yes, I'm not yet perfect. But it doesn't mean I stop trying. The fact that I'm not perfect in them means I have so much more opportunity to keep trying. I have so much opportunity to keep working on myself. And that is marvelous. It is marvelous when I realize that I have such opportunity to work on myself. Each one of us has been blessed to be our own artist. Imagine if I were to think of a statue, and the statue has the chisel and is chiseling itself. I think I have seen an image someplace like that. The statue chiseling itself into perfection. Not somebody else chiseling you into perfection. The artist painting their own image. That is what the yama and niyama are for me. that you are chiseling your own idol into the ideal. You are the grand sculptor chiseling your own image, your own idol into the ideal. That is what the Yama Niyama are. And when we don't acknowledge their existence, when we try to suppress them, when we try to hide them, real yoga walks out of the room. And this is why the modern yoga industry, even that word is an oxymoron. Yoga industry, it's an oxymoron. Yet they talk of the billion-dollar yoga industry. Yeah? And everybody wants their finger in the pie or whatever they call it. I am not against people making money teaching yoga. Never. Not against it. But what I'm saying is, let it not be the objective of sharing. Share for the sake of sharing. This morning I shared a story of someone who bought that book on Amazon, which was, first of all, not Swamiji's book at all. And then was a messed up copy, wrote to me, and my first response was the subhuman response. You bought it from Amazon, talk to Amazon. And that's the subhuman response. I actually sent the email. Then I thought about it. I said, I gave a gap. You know the gap? That Vairagyan, I said, no, that person wanted to read my father's book. They got cheated. It is my duty to set things right. It is my dharma to set right something that has gone wrong for someone searching for the teachings. And so I sent that person the book. No expectation, I just sent it. And then I get an email. Dr. Ananda, thank you for your generosity. But it is my dharma not to receive knowledge without giving Guru Dakshina. So I have transferred money to your bank account. I tell you, the universe keeps reminding me, just when I'm cursing the universe, saying you are totally unfair. A girl who has made such effort, who knows so much, and then you don't give her the marks she deserves. I was like cursing the universe to hell, actually. And the universe says, Dr. Ananda, I know what I'm doing. Open your eyes. Open your heart. And you'll see that the universe knows what it's doing. Do your best. And at times you think you have not got what you deserve. But then you realize something else has happened. Something else has come into your life. Somebody else has come into your life. Another experience has come into your life. But because you're focused on one direction, you are missing the whole picture. Grow up, mature, and elevate your perspective. We have to be an Adhikarin. We have to be fit for the higher path of yoga. That's not impossible. It is not improbable, it is tough. I don't say it is easy. I would hope it could be easy, but it's not easy, okay? I'll tell you that much. At the end of 6 classes, 12 hours of you listening to me, I say it's not easy. I thought I would say it's easy. It's not. Nothing that is worth it is going to just come like that. A pearl of great price, they say. A pearl of great price. The highest spiritual experiences require us to be them. Then they open themselves up to us. They are all there. Every dimension is already there. It's just that it's not opened up to us because we are not ready for it. That dimension is scared that we will misuse it. When we are worthy, those dimensions open up. I have seen it in my own life. I have seen it again and again. And despite that, I curse the universe. There have been days I stand in front of Swamiji's Samadhi and start abusing him. People think I'm in there chanting a mantra. It's a garland of abuse is not a mantra being chanted. And then I always get a response from him, from the universe. And I'm reminded, I was focusing in the wrong direction. I was focusing in a very limited perspective. And the moment I opened my perspective, I say, oh my God, how did I miss this? And then usually I apologize to him. Countless times I've had to apologize to the universe. And why do I share this with you? Why do I share it with people? We are all human. We all go through these experiences. We should never think that it's easier for somebody else. Very easy to think that way, that, oh, somebody has it better. We are all human. We all have these experiences. And somebody just decided, I just love the way the universe said, enough of talking, Ananda, I'm putting off the light. Huh? So important. So important. Okay. So Adhikara Yoga is to enable us to be an Adhikaran, to be fit for that highest. And my wish, concluding wish for every one of us who's part and parcel of this, as well as those who are not part and parcel of it, is that we all become fit for that highest. If we make the effort, the universe will make sure it happens. And when it happens, send me a postcard. Okay, fine. There are no postcards out there, but Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu Sarve Janaha Sukhino Bhavantu Om Shanti 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 Om. See you all later whenever we keep things happening.